Air alliances, meant to connect an industry whose purpose is to connect the world, make it easier for international connections and travelers hoping their bag doesn't get lost. While every airline works differently, the work of these alliances to standardize and streamline processes is an unsung hero in keeping international travel moving. But let's learn more about these air alliances, and specifically which ones exist today, and who is and isn't in them. Air alliances are groups of 3 or more airlines that partner to increase service quality and offer more options to international travelers than they can provide alone. They're great for those wanting to book round-the-world travel and make the process simple. National laws often limit airlines from fully expanding across the globe and competing with domestic airlines, so air alliances offer a solution for the jet-setting traveler. One important thing to note is that air alliances do not profit share. Air alliances are not the only way for airlines to cooperate, with many airlines choosing to use bilateral agreements with each specific airline they work with instead. Now that we know a little bit about the general idea of air alliances, let's see which exist in the world today. Principally, there are 3 major air alliances: the Star Alliance, Oneworld, and SkyTeam. These encompass United Airlines for Star Alliance, American and Alaskan Airlines for Oneworld, and Delta for SkyTeam. There are 3 other minor alliances: the Value Alliance in Southeast Asia, the U-Fly Alliance in East Asia, and the Vanilla Alliance in the East African Islands. First, looking at the Star Alliance, we see it has the most airlines as members of any alliance, including United Aegean, Asiana in Thailand, Air Canada, Avianca in Colombia, Scandinavian Airlines, South African Airlines, and Nippon in Japan. Looking at the map of United's partners in the Star Alliance, we see China, India, Japan, Germany, Colombia, South Africa, Turkey, Scandinavia, all together, Canada, and more. The Oneworld Alliance is the smallest of the 3 major ones. We have American Airlines and Alaska Airlines, but we also have British Airways, Qatar Airways, Finnair, and Royal Jordanian. Looking at the map, we see the UK, Australia, Japan, Spain and Morocco, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Jordan, Finland, and more. For Delta, there is SkyTeam, which is the one alliance that is growing the most. This one has Delta Airlines, but also Korean Air, Aeromexico, Saudi Air, China Airlines in Taiwan, and the Royal Dutch Airlines. You can see it has more presence in Latin America, like Mexico, Argentina, the UK, France, Spain, Italy, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, and South Korea. Now looking at some of the smaller alliances, we first are looking at the Value Alliance. This alliance is among low-cost carriers in Southeast Asia and encompasses 5 airlines across Thailand, the Philippines, South Korea, and Singapore. The U-Fly Alliance has 4 airlines but only represents 2 countries, China and South Korea. Lastly, we have the Vanilla Alliance, which is based in East Africa, encompassing France, Madagascar, and the islands of Mauritius, the Seychelles, and Comoros. Now that we've added all the alliances together on the same map, you can see many different carriers in certain countries, especially the US and China, who are tied for the second most airline alliances represented. But the country with the most airlines within an alliance is South Korea, with 4 different airline alliances. Back to the overall map, it's apparent there are many different gaps in these alliances, particularly in subregions of South America, Central Asia, West Africa, and more. Looking particularly at countries with a national airline size within the top 20 of the world, there are 4 missing from every alliance. Those are Brazil, Ireland, Russia, and the United Arab Emirates. So why are these 4 left out? Well, first, let's look at size. The UAE is the 16th largest airline market, Brazil is the 7th, Ireland surprisingly is the 5th, and Russia is the 3rd. So let's start with the smallest of the 4, the UAE, and work from there. For the United Arab Emirates, they've never had an airline join an air alliance, even though they have Air Emirates, which is a major global airline. Emirates has mostly focused on bilateral partnerships, but there's discussion that eventually Emirates will start its own alliance. Looking at Brazil, there have been many airlines that have been part of these alliances, but through many different mergers and closures, they've all fallen out. There has been talk that because America's Oneworld doesn't have a Latin American partner, that they will add Gol Airlines in Brazil to shore up that weakness. In Ireland, their market is dominated by 2 big players, Ryanair, which likely will never partner with Alliance as they're a low-cost carrier, and Aer Lingus, which was part of Oneworld but left in 2007. They do mostly bilateral agreements now and are a bit more focused on low cost. There are talks now that because Aer Lingus has been acquired by a larger airline company, that they could rejoin an alliance. Lastly, in Russia, it's more obvious, mostly since the war, the big Russian air carriers have left the alliances or been kicked out, and they likely won't be back until the end of the war or changes in international sanctions. So this has been a quick coverage of the air alliance industry. Have you benefited from flying on an air alliance? Have more questions or ideas? Make sure to let me know about them down in the comments.